Good afternoon, it's Lee Cassidy from Tactile Technology with my regular Thursday in the hot seat. So Thursdays is a focus on people who've been through the Goldman Sachs 10,000 program for small business. So we've got Bhavin Shah to join us today and his business central Opticians. So I'll bring Bhavin in and we can learn a little bit about his experience. Hi Bhavin, how are you?
Hi Lee, very well, thank you. Great to be here.
Yeah, so you've recently graduated, haven't you? So it's all quite new to you, the Goldman Sachs program.
Yeah, so we just finished we graduated at the end of December.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about yourself and your business prior to going on the actual course itself. So how long have you been working in as an optician, and how long has Central Vision Opticians been a business?
So I qualified and graduated in 1997, and I was working for companies. I was working for kind of larger companies, which was a bit more kind of quite a routine and a bit more of a conveyor belt kind of style, where I didn't really have a chance to connect with people in a helpful way that I felt. And so I wanted to start up my own practice so I could spend more time with people, and also I'd developed other interests in optometry of other ways to help people through their vision. So the only way I could do that really is having my own business and being able to devote my time. So I opened up my practice in 2009. And I was working then, and it was, I mean, I'd worked as kind of in management in a practice before, but it's quite different when it's your own business. You've
Yeah,
got a completely different hat that you have to wear. And as a lot of business owners, I think, especially when they've been trying to build up their business, they've been working in the business trying to build it up, and actually I think a lot of us realize actually we're not working on the business. So we're kind of great at what we do on a day-to-day basis, but it's really kind of knowing how we can find the elements of growth, trying to systematize the business in a way that it can work more smoothly, and then it's easier for us to kind of grow a business.
So where is your practice base? Is it just the one
So,
at the moment?
yeah, so I've got one practice based in Finchley in North London.
And have you plans to grow beyond one at the moment?
So yes, definitely. I mean, especially now after being on the program, there's elements which actually I really want to expand out. If I can have a more access to more patients that I'm able to help. I do quite a few unique areas of specialism. One of them particularly is helping children who are short-sighted. So we have a program where we slow down the rate of change. So when children first become short-sighted, if we intervene early on, they don't become as short-sighted, which means that their eyes aren't so bad as they become adults, and also it protects their eyes for the future. And the short-sightedness has doubled in the UK and worldwide within the last 20 years. So there's more kids, and you'll see more kids wearing glasses now than ever before.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of an epidemic in itself. So helping those children, and also children who are struggling at school, struggling to learn. We have a program where we help the kids, especially, say, example, if they have dyslexia or some other kind of learning difficulties. We've got kind of a unique program of kind of assessing their needs and giving them an exercise program or some kind of therapies to be able to help them learn. And some of them, it's amazing. I'll have a phone call from a parent of a 10-year-old, say their child picked up an 800-page book, when before then they've only read a 200-page book, but they've now had the confidence to be able to read, and that makes a huge impact to the rest of their lives. And now, after being on the program, it helps give me a roadmap of how I could deliver that and how I could spread that to a much wider audience.
Okay, so let's go on into the program itself then. So how did you hear about the program?
So in 2018, I was on a program at the British Library, which is a kind of an Innovating for Growth program, where over a few months we'd had a few workshops about areas where we can develop the business. And a couple of the alumni on then, one of the trainers there had been involved with this program, and they actually they advised me to apply, because I think I'd got to the point where I needed to take things to a new level, and
Yeah.
they realized that would be the right thing for me.
So how did the process go? So you applied and you're to provide lots of information about your business, and
Yeah.
how did the interview process go?
So it was just right after the first lockdown in July 2020, when I found out that I'd gone through to the interview stage. Um, so I was quite excited to get to this level. And it was they were asking me questions about the business, and a lot of the questions were, why hadn't I done some of the things that I wanted to do beforehand? Because I kind of had an idea of what was holding me back as well, holding the business back. Um, and particularly when you're kind of when you own the business and you're doing all the work in the business, you're often the kind of weakest point in the business as well. Um, so just seeing, they were kind of aware of that, so they brought that up at the interview, and a little bit of my kind of awareness of the numbers and where we were moving.
So you went through the interview stages and you were accepted onto the program. When did you actually start?
So the program itself, we started in September 2020, and they just kind of figured out how they were going to move forward after the first lockdown. So luckily, we managed to have 2 residential days, one near the beginning of the program in September and one in October, at the business school in Oxford University. Obviously, it was probably different than it was before. We had an auditorium that was designed for 400 people, but we were only allowed 30 people in there. So they managed it very well. So we were kind of kept us all safe.
So did you do both your residentials at Oxford, or did you do one elsewhere?
Yeah, both were at Oxford.
Okay. So in your group then, how diverse was the group? So how many different types of businesses there?
So in our cohort, there were 30 different 30 other members, so 30 businesses, a really wide range of businesses, and it's great to meet people from so many backgrounds and all kind of all facing different problems, but similarities as well. And it was great to see the kind of similarities as well as the differences, and kind of work together on those.
What example businesses did you have? Because on my group there were people that made like made cakes for special occasions, like wedding cakes and things. We had a gentleman who made baking products, so these boxes of things that you'd throw into a bowl and put an egg and some milk in, mix,
Oh, yeah.
and like pre-mixed baking. We had exercise people did run exercise businesses, utilities, all sorts of things. So any examples of the types of businesses in your groups?
So yeah, just in my actual growth group, so each cohort's broken up into small growth groups of 5 businesses. We've got one business that restores heritage buildings and heritage architecture. One that does filming for musical events and festivals. A nursery, and a business that provides online sewing resources, and so people are able to kind of sew and make their own clothes. So a very nice wide range.
Yeah, I would assume a couple of those are going to be a challenge with the current situation. Nurseries, I think they're actually operating still, aren't they? It's people like doing musical events. That must be a challenge.
Yeah, I think that's especially the kind of recording for festivals. This business does all the filming for festivals, and now festivals pretty much have all been cancelled, because you just can't have a large gathering. But now with technology, there's innovations, that there's ways that we can provide some kind of entertainment, and it's great that kind of seeing what these businesses are doing.
So tell us a little bit about the things that you found really useful through the actual training, because I would assume you did twice weekly online sessions with the main cohort, but also a growth group session as well each week. Is that how it went?
Yeah. So we had every week was a different module. and a different subject we were covering, and then so we'd have one seminar at the beginning of the week, one at the end of the week, and in the middle of the week we'd have a growth group session with our group and our group experts as well. So it was quite fast moving, and there was a lot of content. Just the amount of kind of online resources that we had to go through. It was a good few hours every week, but it was nice to kind of step away from the business and spend time on those elements.
Which particular subjects did you find? Which modules were more important to you as a business and a businessman?
So I think that right from the beginning, we were looking at starting with our vision and our purpose, and understanding the why for what we were doing, and then understanding our customers, understanding what value we were bringing them, and why they were choosing us over other businesses. I think that getting that grounding really helped. Helps to plan strategy for where the business is going, understanding why they're buying from us. So when we're doing our sales and marketing, understanding that when we're delivering information, it's based on what their needs are, and on how they make their buying decisions. And then going through the numbers and the financials, I think that was really important as well, and just to get a better handle on areas where we can improve our finances, and also kind of moving forward. When I've been talking to other businesses and for growth, and say for example trying to get a CBILS loan, where I can demonstrate a better understanding of the numbers, I think that helps me feel more confident.
Yeah, I'm going to say I think there are still businesses that operate with a shoebox full of receipts, and which is not a good idea, because you need to understand where you are from a day-to-day basis, cash flow, but also where you are profitability wise. And a lot of business don't have enough information because they don't gather that right information, then don't look at the key metrics to understand. And I think that's one thing I learned quite quickly on the program, is really understanding your financials makes a massive difference to your business.
Oh, definitely. Even just having a kind of cash flow. I had a very basic cash flow beforehand, and it was a lot of it was kind of in my head, but having it down, and even just working with some of the templates that they give, that just helps bring so much. I mean, to coin a phrase, clarity to the kind of business.
So as you've gone through the process, so how have you adopted some of the things you've learned into the business? So did you do it straight away and get your staff involved, or have you left it to the end of the program and started to implement things at that point?
So a lot of it I was going, as we were going along, I was kind of engaging the team and telling them some of the elements, and also just especially kind of having an understanding of why our customers come to us and why they purchase from us. I engaged them in that process early on, and just being aware of some of our numbers, some of our metrics that we were taking. Initially, I was just introducing them to some of them, and I think over the year we're going to be trying to look at areas where we can maximize the metrics and work on our plan.
And how have they taken to all this new information and new ways of doing things? Have they been, very positive with it? Have they, really grabbed it with both hands and wanted to embrace it?
On the whole, yes. I mean, initially there were some times where I think for me, explaining exactly what we're doing and why we're doing them was really important. And initially, I think they thought I was saying that they were doing something incorrectly, but actually once I explained, actually it wasn't them. It was actually we're looking at all our processes, including my own processes as well, and thinking that actually there's always different ways of trying new things. And I think that they were then open just to say, let's just give it a try. And if something works, it doesn't work, but at least now we're monitoring it, and we're checking all the actual numbers. So they kind of realize it's for the business, that it's not for them. As in, I'm not saying exactly that they're the ones that need to kind of, that they're not doing something correctly, but it's actually something to help their work. And as the business grows, it's positive for them as well, and thinking about how they can grow within the business as well. And I think they realize that actually, if the business grows, they will benefit with more than just financial, that they'll have growth, that they'll have more opportunities within the business as well.
That's it. As the business grows, there's going to be more opportunity for everyone, isn't there? Because you will be increasing the number of employees, increasing hopefully the number of sites. So gradually you're going to have more opportunities for people who work for you. And I think constant development, personal development, is really important for everyone. You always need to be setting yourself challenges, and a term from one of the Franklin Covey side is sharpening the saw. So always making sure that the saw is effective as it can be, because it's always sharpened, and you being that tool, you need to be sharpening the saw on a regular basis, so you can always do your best and be the most efficient you can be. I think a couple of things coming back from what you said earlier, I think, are quite important. You mentioned about working in the business or on the business, and I think that was something that I saw quite important when I went through the process about 5 years ago. Is sometimes your head down and you're in the business doing that, you don't see how the business is being run, and you're not running the business, you're letting it run itself. And I think it's quite important to step back and have a look at the business from the outside, and also get other people, especially if you can use members of your growth group or the rest of your group who went through the process, to actually give you some pointers, because everybody has a different perspective. And I think that's always quite useful to say, just look at where we are at the moment. How would you approach this? And get someone else to give you some input, I think, is really important. One of the people on our the faculty working with us had a piece they used to say about being on the bus. So you've got to have everybody on the bus, and all got to be looking and going in the same direction. And I think that's all about vision and leadership, isn't it? And mission. So everybody needs to understand what you're trying to do and why, and also get everybody to actually work together to do that. And I think that is a challenge sometimes, especially in a business that's been in development for quite some time without too much leadership. People tend to do their own thing, and like you say, when you start introducing new ideas, they think you're trying to criticize them or check on them to say that they're doing the wrong thing. But in reality, what you're doing is just trying to make sure that the business is the most efficient it can be, and also you're meeting the needs of your customers the best you can as well.
And I think it's understanding that we can always learn, we can always grow, we can always do more, and I think having that kind of vision and going beyond helping people. They have this kind of pyramid of value, where actually we're ultimately not just doing things on an operational basis. We're making a change to people's lives, and understanding actually that all the members of the staff are crucial to making a change in someone else's life. They realize actually that's the end goal. So anything that's happening before then is just ways of working towards that. And I think that did help galvanize them quite a lot to being more receptive to new ideas and wanting to try new ideas, because they saw that actually they're part of producing value for people.
So tell me a little bit about what you're doing now that you wouldn't have been considered prior to doing the program. What kind of ideas, what type of plans do you have for the business that you hadn't even thought of, or may have thought of and thought you wouldn't be able to do until you did the program?
So I think that the biggest thing is where I've been very operational in the business and doing things on a day-to-day basis, particularly seeing patients myself, and I've kind of it's a rod for my own back that I've created, that people just want to see me, and where I've tried with other optometrists to kind of start replicating what I'm doing. I don't think I've done it as wholeheartedly as I could have, but that's one thing that's kind of really been a big driver, is where I'm able to come out of the business and have someone else doing my work. Kind of documenting what I do differently, I think has helped, so that I'll kind of have more of an onboarding process for new optometrists, so that they have a certain standard, and just also conveying to the team how important it is that they engage a new member of staff, because they know that if there's a problem with a patient, or if they know there's a problem with a customer, if they refer back to me, it'll get resolved, and I'll be able to manage it. But so that they end up bringing people back to me as well. But I've got to explain, actually, other people can be doing some of these things as well.
That sounds very, very common. I've been there myself, where anything that's too difficult for an employee, they'll actually bring it back to you because they know you can deal with it. But in reality, you don't want that. You want them to be able to deal with it, so you don't have to be always picking up the pieces. And I think one of the problems that you were saying about you being the key people wanted to see as an optometrist, the trouble being there is you become the business itself. It's just you. You need to get away from it. It needs to be a freestanding business that you're a part of, rather than being the main.
And when you first start out, it's kind of it's quite nice for the ego to know that you're crucial to everyone wants to see you and everything. But actually, there comes a point where you think that's not really what's the best for everybody, actually. And you've got to step back from that ego element and realize, actually, for the bigger picture, there's other things that we can be working on. So I think that's been one of the biggest drivers, I think.
So you've done this through the COVID years, as it were, 2020, 2021. So how has the COVID experience affected your business and you personally?
So from the business, obviously, we're a face-to-face business. So during the first lockdown, when it was quite a confusing time as to what was happening. No one really knew what was happening with the virus, what the outcomes would be. So during that period, actually, I was working from home and doing remote consultations and coming in maybe a couple of times a week to do face-to-face. But that did give me a little bit of time to work on some business development. So I was quite thankful for that time. We received a business grant for being closed, and that kind of carried us through that period. And it did allow me to set a few things in place, which meant that when we were open up again, we were doing things better than we were before we closed. So for me, it was quite a nice time. And actually we spent some time with the family as well, because everything had shut down. We were living in this kind of a bit of a rat race, and it slowed us down. It did mean that we had to completely change the way we were doing business, and even the clinical sense. The way I do eye tests now is different. We've got new equipment that means I don't have to get so close, but actually the new equipment means that I can do things in much more depth than I could before. So it's actually allowed me to reflect and raise standards. It has brought, obviously, uncertainty, because we don't know, people may have to cancel at short notice because they've been asked to isolate. People are worried about coming out. So, we try and keep everything as safe as possible. But there's still, people have the fears of having to be in their environment. And the other thing, people are using their eyes differently. As a result of COVID, we're all, people who are watching this on the screen now are doing even more screen time than they were before. Children are using their eyes on a screen much more. There's a report that came out from China last week showing that the spike in children who'd become short-sighted in 2020 compared to previous years. So all of those things we're still kind of dealing with.
Yeah, well, I'm a blepharitis sufferer, so and that is 40 years of staring at screens. It doesn't do your eyes any good at all.
It's one of the most annoying conditions. I have a bit of blepharitis as well, and it's chronic. It's not serious as such, but it's one of the most annoying conditions, because it can really make you suffer.
Yeah, so just when you wake up in the morning, it feels like you're stripping the surface off your eye because it's
Yeah,
so dry. And I've had
yeah,
really red and really uncomfortable eyes sometimes. It's not
yeah,
normally that bad, but I've tried a few different things like the blue glasses that reduce the amount of blue light and things like that to try and help. And eye drops, I think, are the easiest thing. Just
yeah.
especially
Eye drops and yeah, a little bit of other advice. Hot compresses.
I've tried that.
Yeah,
It's a challenge to get it done in a day. So you
yeah,
tend to go for the easier option, which is eye drops. But yeah,
yeah.
one of those things.
Actually, one of during the kind of lockdown, that was one of the most common complaints. So basically, people were using the computer, their eyes were going very dry as a result of staring at the screen, being indoors, not getting enough fresh air, not getting out enough, not drinking enough water.
Yeah.
So dry eyes and those kind of
I've got my
conditions.
water bottle. I have a filtered water
Okay,
bottle. I'm going on for
excellent,
2 litres today so far, and it's
brilliant.
only just coming up to 3:25. So I'm working hard on that. So
Yeah.
how many of the things that you think of you've done, have changed because of COVID that you'll continue to do going forward? Because I think a lot of business are learning from the way that they've had to change to do business. That some of these things are actually a useful thing to continue to do.
Yeah, a couple of things. We've, as I was saying before, the new technology that we've got, what it does allow, as well as not getting so close, it allows me to do much more in-depth investigation. So I'm examining people's eyes better than I was before, and now actually I don't want to go back to the other way because this way is much better for everybody, myself as well as the patients. Um, we're doing a more remote consultations than before. I mean, we're not doing so many, but still, we do have the technology now. People are more accepting of the technology that will allow, we can do a video conference, a video call. Many of the minor things. I mean, like I was saying, cases with dry eyes or blepharitis, some of them can be managed remotely. So we don't need to have people come in. So it saves them the journey coming in and out. I can do a consultation in less time, and it's safer as well. So some of those things we'll keep in place.
So, how about you've not done? So we talked briefly earlier about the alumni. So it's the greater group of people that have been through the program. You've not been involved in those. You did your graduation recently. I think it was the one with Tim Peake on, wasn't it?
That's right. Yes.
When he was talking about some of the strange things they put them through, like building stress by sticking them in a cave for 6 days and things like that. So a lot of people don't get experience some of these these talks. And I don't know if you saw the one with Baroness Brady last year. I think it was maybe just before your graduation.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was a really good one. And she talked about the challenges she had working in a mainly male-dominated area of football, and that was really interesting. So you tend to get exposed to really interesting people that have had real challenges, and give you a picture of how they've overcome those challenges. And it's also really inspiring as well. I think is one of the key things. But also meeting other businesses outside of your growth group and your particular group that went through the program that did it either earlier or potentially later as time goes on. Your actual graduation gets further and further away, and there'll be more graduations happening. It's quite interesting again to meet other businesses, and there are other opportunities for you to do other things. So one of the things I've done is I've got involved through someone else who was on the program at Birmingham, a guy called Alex Anderson, a few years back. He told me about a program called the Advanced Services Group at Aston University, which we've done now 3 years working with. So there's lots of opportunities to get more involved with academic research and things to help your business going forward, but also the wider alumni to learn about as well. So tell us a little bit about what the future holds for you and Central Vision Opticians. Then, what do you think it's going to take you next?
So I think particularly having, as I was saying before, kind of expanding some of our services and reaching a much wider audience, which means we can help more people. I think that's going to be the kind of biggest area, and especially some of the kind of unique services. There is such a big demand for those. I think that's going to be really one of the most exciting things, and actually the trying to reach a wider professionals as well. So other optometrists to be implementing some of the same work that I'm doing as well. I think that's going to be the most exciting area of growth.
So it's Specsavers and Vision Express. Watch out, is it?
Yeah, we're gonna be doing things a lot differently than they do, and I think people will start like kind of they'll appreciate actually the importance of their eyes, and rather than just being kind of in and out and as a number, having someone that really cares for them.
Yeah, I'm going to say sometimes it's not just to get the stylish frames and the lenses. It's actually the actual personal interaction and understanding of your current situation. I think is much better, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's the bit I mean I love about the work, and in fact when I employ people, they have an interest in people. And so everybody uses their eyes differently. We're all individuals with, and for example, even with a pair of glasses that actually you may be using. I'll ask people, is this what you want to look like when you're on your next Zoom call? And it's amazing how people's decision can change, because they realize actually it's something, it reflects on them what their eyewear is.
That's it. Well, thank you very much for your time today. We've hit 30 minutes. I don't think you thought we would be talking this length of time when we spoke before about it, when we did our preamble a couple of weeks ago about it. But it's been really interesting to learn about you as an individual, Central Vision Opticians, and how you've grown that over the last 11 years, and also to learn how your experience of the Goldman Sachs program has affected you and your business. And I wish you the best of luck in the future.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Yeah, and hopefully a lot of people will take time to watch these videos and learn a lot more about you. If anybody does want to know more about Bhavin and his business, you'll be able to find him looking up Central Vision Opticians. Also, make a comment on LinkedIn if you see this video on LinkedIn, and we'll respond to that. Also on Facebook and also on YouTube. So make some comments if you want to learn more, or if you want to arrange to come in and have a checkup with Bhavin or one of his colleagues. But thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your week, Bhavin.
And you too. Take care.